So essentially what you need to know is you know, the difference between the different blade profiles, I'll talk about that in a minute, and the metal that the knife is made of. Now, for example, these are carbon steel blades, so you can see this one's all rusted. So a lot of people don't like that, and they get like stainless steel blades instead, which won't rust. But there's a difference, because stainless steel is more difficult to sharpen, in my opinion, than carbon steel, right? Now, what this means is, basically the metal is harder. So if the metal is harder, it means the edge is going to stay sharp longer, but it also means it's going to be more difficult to sharpen. You see what I mean? So you've got a choice. You could go for a blade that is like very, very hard, which is what a lot of marketing is selling you. You know, it's like this very hard blade that's going to keep an edge, but it's going to be very difficult to sharpen. Or you can go for like a softer or a carbon steel type blade, which is not going to hold the edge as long, but it's going to be very easy. If you want to pass a knife to somebody, you don't pass a knife like this, you know. So you're just going to flick it over, like that. And this way you see the blade is on top. Because what happens is, somebody will just grab the knife and pull it. If it's that way around, you know, you're going to get a nasty cut here. And so if you just look at what I'm doing here, you just bring it up. It's like a wrist action. It looks like this. Do you understand what I'm doing here? Yep. It just comes straight in like that. And this is important when it comes to sharpening, because the way you sharpen freehand is going to depend on what sort of grind it is. So that's what's called a flat. And this has got what's called a secondary bevel. So if you look, that would be the profile, right? So you'll see it tapers in, and then it tapers again, right? And this is important when it comes to sharpening, because it's very simple. If you imagine this is my sharpening stone, here's my Scandi. All I'm doing is wearing down the metal here, wearing down the metal there until it forms a point. So it's not complicated, and it doesn't need to be expensive either. So I'm going to show as it gets filled up with all the metal from the knife, and then it doesn't work as well. So you're washing it a lot. Now what I've used for years is just one of these. So I can just spray this on. Actually, you soak it first, but once this is wet, and then as I'm sharpening, you'll see that the stone starts to dry off. I don't know, never mind.
You need a base.
And then you want to clean it. You just clean it with this. So that I think these cost. Price on that? I think these are about 7 ringgit.
Yeah, these are common stuff.
7 ringgit. 7 ringgit. 80 ringgit. And you will have a knife as good as any. And you just cut the paper like this, and you can see whether the knife is sharp or not. Okay, so that's a test. It's not like you're doing it to show off, going, you can just get a tub like this, make a little platform. Now what you do with these all these stones actually, is you soak them for about a couple of minutes. So we're not going to do this exactly properly. So you'd soak those in the water, just because the stone has like got little holes in it. Yeah, pores, thank you. And it'll fill up with water.
Ah, okay.
Anyway,
but you want the water on the surface
as well.
Yeah.
You'll see. But
any reason you want it inside the stone?
Can you see that? See the bubbles coming out of the stone there?
You're right. Yeah. Any reason why you want it inside?
Again, so that because the stone is going to wear off, the water is inside the stone. You continue trying to clean the stone to keep its abrasive property. Otherwise, it'd be like if you rub mud on top of the stone.
So that means the water inside will actually comes to the surface when you reach the level. Huh?
Yeah. Otherwise, what happens if you don't soak them? It'll very quickly dry out as you're sharpening. It just get dry, and then it'll get gun sharp. So that's why you soak them. So I'll tell you, we'll use this stone. So this is just the cheap normal stone. Now again, the other thing I would say about sharpening freehand is, oh sorry, I thought you wanted me. Well, you can see that's drying. Here, you see that? It's drying out already.
Yeah,
almost immediately, yeah?
I haven't soaked it long enough.
Enough, yeah.
But you still have to keep wetting it. So with this arrangement, you can just, as it gets dry, you can just drop it in there and bring it back on. Okay? So you can just keep wetting it like that.
So if you have soaked it long enough, it will stay...
It'll still dry out. You still have to keep wetting it like this, okay?
A little bit longer.
There are lots of ways of sharpening a knife. I'm going to show you a couple of ways and the way I use. But again, the thing is to find a way that you are comfortable with, right?
Okay.
Now this one, remember, is the flat Scandi grind. Yeah? So this is the easiest knife to sharpen. I'm going to show you why. To sharpen this knife, what I want to be doing is pushing the stone along the bevel. This is called the bevel here, right? Because this is quite pronounced, it's just got a single bevel, it's quite easy. I can just put the knife there and lift until I find the bevel. Do you see how easy that is? You know, I don't, because on some of these other knives you've got to kind of estimate, you know, but with this, because it's got this deep bevel, I can just do it like that. And then I'm going to push towards, so I'm pushing, I'm on the actual bevel here. I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that. I'm finding the bevel and push like that. Okay? You can see this stone is just drying out.
Yep.
So that is one stroke. Okay. Now the thing to remember, if you remember what this looked like. Yeah,
almost immediately, yeah.
How rusty it is. Well, yeah, we haven't really started yet, but whatever you do to one side of the knife, you want to do it to the other side of the knife.
Oh, so
Okay.
that's how you balance it up.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to end up with a wonky blade.
Yeah, oh, okay.
At the beginning, you know, because this is very blunt and it's a bit rusty, we want to sharpen quite quickly. We want to, you know, we don't want to faff about too much. Because the way I do it is I do one stroke forward and I twist the knife round.
Almost.
Right.
Okay.
And can you see that those black marks coming off? That's the metal coming off the knife. You'll see it more later on. Now you see I'm twisting the knife. Most people don't do this. Most people don't do it that way at all. The way most people do it is they go like that, and then they turn the knife over here, and they bring it back towards them. Now that is the way you're meant to do it. But I find that really hard. So this is what I'm saying, you've got to find what works for you. I find it easier to bring the knife around like that. Okay, other people find it easier to go like this and like that. I don't, you know, personal preference. A lot of this is personal preference. But what you're doing is you want to be sharpening as you push forward. You don't want to be doing that. See that bit there? It's like a little trailing bit of metal. Tiny, you know, tiny bit of metal. And as I sharpen, it'll bend to one side, and then it'll bend to the other side, right? So, do you understand what I mean? It's a little bit difficult to understand this one. But that feels incredibly sharp. You know, you touch it with your finger, you think,
almost like a needle.
It's really, really sharp. But what happens when you start to cut with it? This wire edge will just like crumple. And it'll bend or it'll break off, and you'll get it. You think, oh, my edge has gone all rubbish. You know, what is going on? So we want to get rid of that wire edge, because can you imagine if that was like a metal, thin strip of metal, and it bends around your edge? You know? Yeah, it's just no good. So the last thing, now again, you don't need to do this, but it's better if you do, is to strop the blade, which is what barbers do, you know, and a bit of wood. You know.
Okay.
So again, I mean, the cost of setting up like this, you know, it's not hard. You don't need to go out and buy.
Can we use a leather belt?
Yeah.
Oh, leather belt.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Make sure it's genuine leather.
Yeah.
No, leather belts are the best, actually. It's just I didn't want to use a leather belt.
Wait. Rather than throw it away, you can make it to use.
A lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't use brasso. It works.
Why is the reason they don't use brasso?
Because they want it to be even smoother. You know, they just want to use the leather. The brasso is an abrasive. You know, it's just going to speed it up.
And guys who say no, don't use, why?
Because you'll find, I tell you, if you go on any site and you say anything about knives or sharpening, you will get guys going, whatever you say. You know?
Claim expert, yeah?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of nonsense. Anyway, so to strop a knife, what you're doing, instead, you know, when we're sharpening, we're pushing.
Or forward.
When you're stropping, we're pulling like that. So I can do two like that.
Angle, yeah?
Yeah. What you absolutely don't want to do is this, which you'll see people doing, is as I get to this point, I turn it over while still touching. Because what I'll do is I'll blunt it a bit here.
Okay.
So you can do a few that way, that way.
What you're saying is to lift it up first.
At the end.
Lift it up. Don't do this. That's wrong.
Like the barber.
It's up, 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 And you know, that will, what that does basically, if you imagine this is the strop, this is pushing, and it basically will pull this wire edge off. So what you find when you strop is afterwards you think, oh, it doesn't feel quite as sharp as before.
That's right.
That's because you're not feeling the wire edge.
Yes,
yeah?
that's right.
But the edge will last longer. I can't use the bevel, this main bevel.
Nope.
Because if I did that,
It'd be like,
I'd be there all day. Because I'd be sharpening like this, but I'm not getting the point there.
Until you reach there, huh?
So what I need to do is lift the knife up, so I'm sharpening like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more difficult to do.
Because the edge is so
You can't really,
tiny.
you can't really feel it.
Yes.
So you have to estimate where it is.
see.
Right?
Okay.
Now, the truth is, I'm not going to get it perfectly right with a secondary bevel. So that is where people might use, like what do you call it? These
Spyderco.
modern
Yeah,
methods.
Spyderco.
Yeah,
They call it a non-brainer. Just
it's got the angle already, and you
Yeah.
just sharpen like that. The truth is, you can do it like this because you'll quickly discover an angle that works for you. You mean you get muscle memory. Do you know what I mean? Now I might not get it 100% right, but I'm going to get it like 99% right.
99. Wow.
Wow. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is actually a carbon steel knife, right?
That's carbon steel knife.
So if let's say we do it very frequently, will the what you call it,
The thickness
the
or the shape.
secondary bevel.
secondary bevel become similar with the third?
Yeah. Well, it depends. If you've kept the angle correct, it won't. It'll just keep coming. You'll keep having a secondary bevel. But you can see, I think this one, honestly, I can't remember. I think that originally had a secondary bevel, and I just sharpened
all the way.
and haven't got it right, and ended up with almost a single bevel on it, and it's almost like a convex bevel.
So it's better for you, right?
No, secondary bevels are okay. It's just the thing is, it's like if somebody said, "Oh, can I sharpen your knife? I want to play around with knives. Can I sharpen a knife?" I don't mind them doing it with a Scandi grind because they'll get it right because you can feel.
Yeah, you won't go wrong.
Right. If they go, "Can I sharpen your secondary bevel knife?" I'd say, "No, don't." Or my parang, no, don't, because my angle, even if it's not exactly right, it's going to be the same angle each time I do it. So eventually I'm going to end up with a secondary bevel that's always in the same position. If I let you say sharpen it, you might go like a few degrees different, and it's going to bugger up the secondary bevel for me. Do you see what I mean? So secondary bevels are more difficult to sharpen than black Scandi grinds, but it's not impossible. I mean, that's what I do. It's just
Try and error lah.
you can see there's my primary bevel, there's my second. You can just about feel it.
Okay.
But it's a bit more difficult. That's what I'm saying. The one that's more difficult even than secondary bevels is what's called a convex grind. Which, do you see that line there?
Yeah.
That's very difficult to sharpen. Because you've got no angle to estimate, and people do it. You've got to sort of rock it. I wouldn't go near a convex grind personally because they're just difficult to sharpen. The number one rule again is, where is the knife going? Right? When you're cutting, where is the knife going to go? And most people, if you say, "Do you know how to use a knife?" They go, "Yeah, I know how to use a knife. I know how to whittle." But even something like that, most people are actually doing it wrong. So most people will whittle. I mean, correctly. You hold the stick in front of you. I'm cutting away from me, right? But do you see where the action is? It's on my elbow, right? It's not a very strong action there, and it's going to, if I do it a lot,
hurt
my elbow's going to
joints.
hurt. The other thing is, because I'm doing it like that, I tend to, I don't know if you can see, but I'm sort of scooping. Just the way your hand works, you'll end up scooping the end out of the point. How should you do it? What you want to do is lock your arm. See, my arm's locked. And then I'm going to use the whole of my arm here to actually pull down. I've gone too far there. So it's that motion. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see.
Is that clear?
Pull back on your left hand.
Yeah, this is more or less staying still and pulling back like that. That way, my elbow doesn't. You get like tennis elbow if you do. If you're doing this too much, it's just a stronger cut. So forming a point is one of the main cutting things that you're going to be doing. There are other ways of doing it, other sort of other ways of doing it. So one of them is if you're cutting a piece like this and you want to do what's called a power cut, is similar, but I'm going to, rather than using my elbow like that, I'm going to sort of push down. It's a bit thick actually. I'm going to push down from my shoulder through my arm. I don't want the knife going anywhere near me, so I'm doing it behind. See what I mean? So I'm here. And if you watch my arm, it's this push down motion, right? And this is like a power cut because I'm getting a lot of power through my body. Yeah, that's quite tough stuff. To the end of the stick, and it's all away from me. Okay, so that's another one. Another way of doing this would be, this looks a bit too big. Never mind. What's called a chest lever cut. Right, this is again, rather than what most people are doing, which is using their wrist or their elbow, the power is going to come from my shoulders and my back muscles. Okay, so what you're doing here is I'm gripping the knife like this, not like that. Got just my thumb over the blade, just slightly like that. Okay. Then it's a bit like a sort of chicken movement, right? So I'm going to use the muscles here, my back, lock the knife in, and then I'm going to pull back. Okay. So this gives you a lot of power to cut through, make a point. Okay. Another way you can do it is you can use your knee. I can brace the knife against my knee. I don't do this at all. I don't like it. But again, what I'm doing is I'm pulling back on the wood. You see, the knife's not going anywhere.
It's pulling.
It's the wood that's doing. It's this arm that's doing the work.
That's why Paul said he doesn't do this.
I don't like it. But the point is, again, is you find something that you like. You might find this. A lot of people find very awkward. I mean, I don't, but a lot of people do. You could be doing it like this. It's all doing the same thing. But those are 4 methods of cutting that you could use, and you can try them and see which one suits you. Yeah.
Otherwise, you will get that birthing again.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So it's 70-30.
Yeah. You do that about 20 times. As in 20 times.
70%, 30%.
Oh, so the crooked is.
Go.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Ew, Marcus!
Marcus is close, right?
You're disgusting.